The arena was bigger than any human had ever seen. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, tall ones with glowing skin, some with metal limbs and fire in their eyes. They all waited for the games to begin. At the center of the arena stood warriors from different worlds, all proud, all strong, all wearing heavy, shining armor. Some roared, some raised their weapons. The crowd cheered louder. Then he walked in, the last one. The only human. He looked small. His armor was old. It was scratched. It was bent. It looked like it could fall apart any second. The crowd went silent for a moment. Then they laughed. They laughed hard. One alien warrior stepped forward. She was tall. Her armor was black and gold, sharp edges on her shoulders, eyes like fire. Her name was Vexash. Looked at the human and smiled, not a kind smile, a cruel one. She said, "Is this a joke? Did the human send a child in old metal?" The crowd laughed again, even louder. Now the human said nothing. He looked around the arena. His name was Echo. He was quiet, calm. His face showed no fear. Vexa took a step closer. She said, "Little man, you should run back home before your armor breaks by itself." Echo still said nothing. He looked down at his armor. He touched the cracks, then he looked up straight into Vexa's eyes. She laughed again. She turned to the crowd and shouted, "Watch this, I will finish this in 10 seconds. A loud horn echoed. The battle had begun. Vexa rushed forward, fast, powerful, her sword in the air. Echo moved back. Slow, too slow. He almost tripped on his own feet. Vexa laughed as she attacked. Echo blocked the hit. Barely. His arm shook from the power. His armor groaned. Another hit. Another dent. The crowd cheered Vexa's name, but Echo kept standing. Step by step, he moved back. Dodged left, then right. He was not fast, but he was still there. Vexa frowned. "You are wasting time. Why don't you fall?" Echo looked at her again. Then he did something strange. He removed his helmet. The crowd gasped. Even Vexa stopped for a second. Echo dropped the helmet on the ground. It rolled away. He unstrapped the chest plate, let it fall. The pieces of armor hit the floor one by one. Stood there, no armor, just a black combat suit. His arms were covered in scars. His eyes were sharp, focused at Vexa. "Said you gave up." Echo finally spoke. "No, I just stopped hiding." For the first time the crowd was silent. No one laughed. Echo stepped forward. One step, then another, faster now, lighter now. Vexa charged again. Her sword moved like lightning, but this time he was ready. He ducked, slid under the attack, turned, kicked her leg from the side. She stumbled, her eyes wide. He did not stop. He moved like water, like wind. No heavy armor to slow him, just instinct and training. Vexa swung again. He caught her arm, twisted, flipped her over. The crowd stood in shock. He stepped back, breathing steady. Not a scratch on him. Vexa got up slowly, angry, now confused. She looked at him, the weak human, with no armor, with nothing to protect him. She said, "What are you?" Echo replied, "Better without the armor you laughed at." She stared at him, speechless. The horn sounded again. Round one over. Echo walked away. No victory dance, no pride. Just calm steps into the shadows. The crowd was silent. Then one small alien in the back whispered, "Did we just see the future?" High above in the control room, an old scientist smiled. He whispered to himself, "He's ready now." The screen showed Echo walking alone. No armor, no fear. Only strength that no one expected. And for the first time in the Sci-Fi history of the arena, a human made the galaxy quiet. The video spread like fire. Screens across the galaxy showed the moment a human dropped his armor and defeated a warrior built to kill. Some called it fake, some called it luck, some called it madness, but one place did not laugh: the Iron Mona, cold station where the strongest warriors trained, where weak soldiers never returned. And on that moon, Echo stood again. This time not for a fight, but for answers. The chamber was dark, walls made of silver plates, air full of steam and silence. A voice echoed, old, metallic, full of weight. "You came back." Echo walked forward, his steps light. No armor, only silence. From the shadows came a figure, an old man with one mechanical eye, half human, half machine. He looked at Echo with a strange mix of pride and fear. "You're alive, that means it worked." Echo said, "Tell me why you did it." The man walked to a console, pressed a button. A screen appeared, showing files, images of battles. diagrams of a human brain glowing like fire. This is Project Core, a weapon built from inside the body, not outside. Echo listened, his fists clenched. You trained me to die, not to win. The old man shook his head. No, I trained you to survive without anything. No armor, no backup, no mercy. Flashback. Echo as a child running in a gravity chamber, lifting weights heavier than his own body, dodging bullets with eyes closed, falling bleeding, getting up again and again. The man said, armor is a lie, it slows the soul, we made you faster than machines. Smarter than A is, you don't wear armor, you became the armor. Echo looked at his own hands, the scars, the pain, and the truth. I hated you for it, but now I understand. Suddenly the alarm rang, red lights flashed. The station shook as soldier ran in. Sir, we have a problem, she's here. The old man looked at the screen. A ship was landing outside. Vexacho stared at the monitor. Her ship had no weapons ready, just her, he whispered. She didn't come to fight. She came for answers too, outside the station. Vexa walked alone. Her armor was still shining, but her steps were slow, careful inside. Echo walked to the door, paused for a second, then stepped out. They stood face to face, no crowd, no arena, only cold wind between them. Vexa said, you beat me, but I saw something in your eyes, something I don't understand. Echo said, it's not power, it's pressure. Humans live under it every second and still breathe. Vexa took off her helmet for the first time. She looked human, not in form, but in emotion. I never knew fear until I saw you fight with nothing. Echo stepped forward. That was not nothing. That was everything. From behind them, the old man watched. He whispered to himself, this is how it begins. The camera zoomed out. Stars in the background. Two warriors from different worlds. No armor, no lies, only truth between them. And somewhere in the dark corners of the galaxy, the council watched too. And they were not pleased. It started with silence. A silence so deep it reached even the core of warships, so loud it made generals hold their breath. In the grand hall of the 9 races, the leaders sat around a burning map of stars, each one powerful, each one angry. A giant alien with bone armor slammed his hand on the table. This human must be stopped. Another hissed with long silver teeth. He's broken the order. He fights without armor, without code. He is chaos. The queen of the glass moon leaned back. She smiled softly. But he won, and that scares you. They all turned to the main screen. It played the same scene again and again, a human stepping forward. No shield, no sword, no metal, only eyes. Only fire inside them. They paused. The screen zoomed into his face. The human called Echo. The room filled with whispers. He became the question. None of them could answer. Then the council master stood tall, wrapped in fire and shadows. He raised one hand. Challenge him. Send your champions. Let him face the strongest of every world. If he survives, we obey. If he falls, the balance remains. They all agreed, and the message was sent across the stars. Back on Earth, Echo stood on a rooftop under the rain. His clothes wet, his eyes calm. He had already seen the message. A beam of light had carved it into the sky above Earth. A list of names: 7 champions, 7 planets, 1 human. He did not blink. He did not speak. He just whispered to the rain, I accept. Vexa stood behind him, watching quietly. She knew what it meant. She knew what those champions could do, but she also knew something they did. Noth would not fight like them. He would fight like a human. First fight, the Blade King of Titan V, a warrior with 7 arms. Blades made from star metal. His speed faster than thought. The arena was made of glass and wind. One wrong step, you fall into space. Echo stood at the center. No armor, no weapons. The crowd was brutal. They screamed, they cursed. They threw things at him. The king stepped forward. He laughed. You came to die then? Echo looked up and said, I came to show you how we live. The fight began. Blades moved like storms. But Echo was the eye in the center, still calm, deadly. He ducked. He stepped to the left. He used the glass floor to reflect light into his enemy's eyes. And then he struck once. Just once. The Blade King fell in silence. Crowd gasped. Echo turned away, walking into the shadows again, just like before. One champion down later that night. Vexa patched up a bruise on his shoulder. She said, "Why do you never celebrate?" Echo replied, "I fight so they will never laugh at another." Human again, that's the only win I want. Far above in the halls of the council, one of the leaders whispered, "If he defeats all 7, he becomes more than legend, he becomes law." But deep in the stars, one last name on the champion list smiled. Her name was Neela, and she had once killed an entire moon by herself. She watched Echo's fight, paused. The screen zoomed into his face. Then she whispered, "I want to be the one who breaks him." Before she was a warrior, before she wore armor, before she laughed at a human, Vexa was just a girl on a burning planet. She remembered the fire. She remembered the ships in the sky, and she remembered the hand that pulled her from the rubble. A hand with 5 human fingers, small, bloody, alive. She had never told anyone, not the council, not her family, not even herself until now. In the shadows of a quiet spaceport, she stared at a small broken badge. It had one word on it, ECO. Her fingers trembled, her breath caught, because the hand that saved her as a child now belonged to the man she once mocked in battle across the stars. Echo trained in silence, one fight after another, his body bruised, his mind sharp. Each time he walked away, the crowd said nothing. They just watched, confused, afraid, some in awe. He was not supposed to win, but he kept winning, without armor, without weapons, without rage, only focus. Back in the council hall, a new vote was taken. The war leaders sat in dark robes, faces half hidden by smoke. A voice whispered, "If this human defeats the last 3, he will become more than a fighter. He will be a symbol. We cannot allow that." Another voice replied, "Then send someone who can kill him, not with strength, but with trust." Vexa's name lit up the center of the room. The vote passed. They called it the final test. She received the message in a black box. No sound, just words. Make him believe, then break him. Vexa held the box in her hands for hours. Her heart felt like a war. Echo had become something else now, not just a fighter, not just a name. He had become the same feeling she once felt as a child. Hope. She found him alone in a meditation hall. He sat on the floor, eyes closed, sweat on his face. Calm. She stepped inside quietly, slowly. Spoke without looking. "I knew you'd come," she said. "How?" Echo opened his eyes, looked straight into hers. "Because I feel when someone is about to hurt me." Vexa froze. He stood up, walked toward her. "I know what the council wants. I know you were chosen. But I also know something else." He reached into his pocket, pulled out an old cloth. Inside it, a child's drawing, half burned, covered in ash, but still clear. 2 figures, one small, one tall, holding hands under a red sky. Held it up. "You dropped this the day I pulled you from the fire." Vexa could not breathe. Her hands shook. She tried to speak, but no words came. Echo said, "You laughed at me. But I already knew who you were. I waited, I watched, and I hoped you would remember too." Tears built behind her eyes, not because of pain, but because of guilt. She whispered, "I didn't forget, I just didn't want it to be real, because if it was, then I betrayed more than a fighter. I betrayed the one who saved my life." Echo stepped back. "No, you're not. Too late. But they think you are." Outside, the sky filled with ships, dark and silent. The council had sent assassins. They knew she might fail. Vexa turned toward the window, eyes burning now, not with pride, but with rage. "They want me to break you, but they forgot something." Echo raised an eyebrow. She said, "You didn't need armor, and now you don't need to fight alone." The two stood side by side, a human without fear, a warrior without lies, and the stars watched as the betrayed became the protectors. It started with a whisper, not in a room, not on a ship, but in a little girl's voice. She sat in a broken shelter, cold hands wrapped around her knees. Her planet had fallen, her city turned to dust, and yet she looked up at the dark sky and whispered one word. Echo. Someone recorded it. Just a whisper, just a name. The video traveled faster than light, from star to star, planet to planet, into every shadow where fear had grown. People who had no armor, people who had no power, people who had been laughed at. They all heard her voice echo. He became more than a man. He became a question. What if armor was never protection? What if fear was the real cage in a hidden asteroid base? Echo and Vexa stood in front of 20 rebels, aliens and humans, all shapes, all colors, all broken in some way. They did not have ships. They did not have weapons. But they had eyes full of something rare. Belief. Echo walked among them. He touched their shoulders. He listened to their pain. Vexa watched him closely. This was not the same human she fought in the arena. This one carried people like gravity, like fire in winter. She said to him quietly, "They follow you, but you're still just one man." Echo replied, "No, I'm the mirror. They're the change across the galaxy." The council sent warnings. Anyone who spoke the name Echo was marked as a traitor, but the name kept spreading on a moon carved from ice. A child painted Echo's face on a wall on a warship above gas clouds. A captain removed his helmet and said, "I don't need this anymore." On Earth, a mother whispered to her son, "You can be brave without being bulletproof." The rebels began to train, but not with armor, not with shields, with movement, with breath, with memory. Vexa led half of them, teaching speed, balance, fear, control. Echo trained the others. He said one thing again and again: your body is your weapon, your heart is your shield. They bled. They fell, they rose. One day, during training, a soldier named Rion asked Echo, "Why did you really take off the armor that day?" Echo paused, looked at his hands. "It made me look strong, but I felt weak inside it. I took it off to finally become myself." Far above, the council grew desperate. They sent a probe into Echo's base. It watched from the ceiling like a ghost. It heard everything. It recorded something strange, not weapons, not machines, laughter, real, free, human laughter. The council leaders stared at the footage. One of them said, "They laugh like they have already won." Another whispered, "They rise not because of power, but because of truth." They issued a new command: send the core assassins, burn the asteroid base, kill Echo, kill the belief. But they were too late, because by then, every system had seen the whisper, every voice had said the name, and in the center of the rising wave, Echo stood with no armor, no lies, only light behind him. The diary was old, its cover torn, its pages filled with dirt and hope. A boy named Ilan wrote in it every night, 12 years old, living in the underground tunnels of ruined New London. His father was gone, his mother was silent, his world was cracked, but still he wrote. Page 73. Today we lost the sky again. The ships covered it like insects, but I heard someone on the radio. A name, Echo. Mama smiled when she heard it. She never smiles anymore. Page 76. Someone painted his face on a train. We all touched it for luck. Then we ran before the guards came. Page 80. Echo is not wearing armor. He says you can be brave without it. So I took off my helmet today. It felt cold, but I felt tall. That night the ground shook, the tunnels cracked. The council had sent something worse than war. They sent silence. No warnings, no signals, only a bright white light that came from the sky. Then the world turned red. The core assassins had arrived. Echo was on the far side of Saturn when the message reached him, a broken voice from Earth. A single word: help. He did not wait. He did not speak. He just ran toward his ship like a storm wearing skin. Vexa followed without a question. When they reached Earth, sky was already gone. The oceans were boiling at the edges, the cities looked like bones. But Echo did not stop. He found the old tunnels, the ruins, the burnt metal. He found Ilan's diary. Open to the last page, words written in shaking hands: Echo will come, he always comes. Echo knelt down, eyes closed, fists tight. Vexa put a hand on his shoulder. They tried to erase belief so you would break. He stood up slowly, not like a hero, like a mountain rising after being buried. He walked into the smoke, his skin burned, his chest bleeding, but still he walked. The core assassins saw him. They charged like shadows wrapped in blades. They were fast, sharp, merciless. Echo did not move like a soldier. He moved like something older than war. He took them down, not with power, with patience. But there were too many. One stabbed through his side. Another hit his spine. Blood fell, bones cracked. He fell to his knees. The last assassin raised its blade, but then stopped. Vexa was standing behind it, her armor shattered, her face full of fire. "You want to break something? Try breaking me," she screamed like a supernova, and the blade missed its mark. Forever silence returned. Echo on the ground, breathing slow, eyes open. Still alive. Vexa pulled him up. "Don't you dare die." Echo smiled, weak but real. "I'm not dying, I'm just learning what it means to lose, so I can teach others how to stand above them." Clouds turned red, ships began to retreat. The message had spread again, even in pain, even in fire. Echo still rose. A new monument stood in the center of the galaxy, but it was not made of gold, not of stone, not of victory. It was made of silence, a circle of 7 chairs, empty. Around a single black boot print burned into silver floor. No name, no title, just a whisper. Etched beneath it, "He walked without armor so we could stand without fear." In planets once ruled by fear, children now played in empty warfields. They built statues not of guns, but of hands open, reaching ships that once dropped bombs, now dropped books. Seeds, letters written in every language. One letter reached a boy named Elon. He had survived. Covered in ash, holding a broken diary like a shield, the letter read, "Dear Elon, I heard your whisper before the sky fell. I carry it still. You are why I stood back up." Echo, but no one had seen Echo in 12 weeks, not on Earth, not on the moons, not in the stations that now wore peace instead of armor. Some say he was broken. Some say he disappeared into the stars. Some say he became the stars. Vexa knew the truth. She walked to a cliff every morning. No helmet, no sword, just wind in her hair and fire in her memory. She waited, not for him to return, but to remind the sky that someone like him had lived behind her. The new alliance was forming, humans, aliens. All different, all listening to each other. Now the first law they passed: no armor will ever be stronger than honesty. The second law: no race shall laugh at another without understanding their pain. The third law: Echo lives in those who rise without fear. One night under twin moons, Vexa placed a hand on her chest. She whispered, "You saved me twice, once from fire, once from pride." She smiled. "Now I save others, not because I'm strong, but because I remember your weakness was never weakness at all." Far away on a small green planet no one mapped, a figure walked through tall grass. Barefoot, scarred alive, he watched a child climb a tree, fall, stand up laughing. He smiled, and for the first time in his long journey, he felt peace. Not as a warrior, not as a symbol, just as a human. The galaxy did not cheer, it did not shout, it listened, and that was enough.